got to ask, do you regret leaving the independent scene where you were a big fish in a small pond to ultimately drown in the sea that is the WWE?
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green. How are you? And Happy New Year to all that are out there. Boy. First, let me try to back myself up off my microphone here. Just a scooch. If you haven't realized or haven't seen, I purchased a new mic. And I'm still working with the settings here, trying to see what I can and can't do with it. I still got the old one, but I just wanted to have one that I could just bump it directly into the computer, because I never really do that. I record off of I'm getting into the weeds of production. I record off of a Tascam, and then I just bump it into my PC past that point. And I got pretty used to it, but, for simplicity's sake, I said, and this was on sale, just had to be the right place, right time. I was like, oh, that's not bad for a price. Let me pick that up. And lo and behold, I went and got it, but man, this thing is sensitive. I mean, I tried it a couple of times, and boy, like I could scratch my pants, and you could hear let me see. Yeah, that's like me scratching fabric on my leg. It is not anywhere close to that. Stuff in the next room is just seemingly, for a small mic, very sensitive. And picks up a lot. But we're going to give it a try, because, they can't go wasting money. You have to at least see if I can get some use out of it before I determine one way or the other which mic I go with. Anyhow, we are back again. We are back with new episodes of WoW and back to doing review. I honestly thought about, do I even want to start reviewing these things again? Because holy smoke, it's another one of those things, like if I wasn't in the room, if I wasn't there, if I wasn't at this job that it aired on a week-to-week basis, would I be would I be watching this on my own accord? That was the real question. And I'll be honest to say that if it were on my terms, I probably, after December, I probably wouldn't have. I would have been one of the people that got dropped off because of that nonsense. However, we are here. We are back. Surprisingly, the episode that I watched was not that bad. It has its cons to it, yes. But it wasn't nearly as bad as what I would expect. However, the caveat to that statement being is that whenever they have done the beginning of a new season, when there is no follow-up, if they don't have things that they have to hold continuity towards or something like that, generally speaking, when it's the beginning of their season, one or two of those episodes are pretty palatable. The question is, can they follow it? I am going to assume no. They're probably not going to be able to follow that. But, time will tell. I will not pass judgment on them immediately. I will let time take its course, and we'll see. However, keeping in the mode of what we're doing here and how we have taken care of things, before we go directly off into review, and you'll probably hear my papers flipping around because, like I said, this microphone is pretty sensitive. Yeah, there we go. I can hear it. Before we go off into that, we are going to do the news, views, and updates. But in this news, views, and updates, I'm not going to do any of the current event news. I'm going to say that for the next episode because there's a lot of stuff that I have to get to as it relates to WoW. So I'm just going to cram all that. This is going to be a WoW-centric episode, and it's going to begin within the news, views, and updates. We're going to go through their WoW top 5 matches. And then, as I was asked to do, somebody presented it to me. It's like, well, if you were going to give out awards, if you were going to be like, say, PWI or something along those lines, would you have awards to give out to them? I was like, well, some of those I can't because I don't know if WoW would qualify for those particular things. However, I told them I would write down the things that I think that they possibly could do in terms of awards, and I'll go through the ones that I personally picked. I wrote out best angle, storyline / feud, tag team of the year, wrestler of the year, manager of the year, match of the year, most potential, best utility player, overrated, underrated, inconsistent angles and storyline. Those were the particular things that I put in for them because they're like, I wish I could say it could all just be good, but they do certain things with such inconsistency that you'd have to bring it up, at least in my opinion. So, that being said, let's go to the news, views, and updates, and we will take it from there. All right, so what exactly is happening with WoW? Well, first let's start with the top 5 matches. Now, these are top 5 matches that allegedly, and I say allegedly, were picked by the viewers. I say that because I don't recall any sort of polls or sending your votes for this or that or the other thing. I don't remember it. I could be wrong. But I don't remember any of that ever happening. And since I don't see any evidence of that, plus the fact that WoW sometimes has the habit, we'll call it, of picking out matches that all seemingly exist within a month or two of each other. There's no real spread to, hey, this match took place in February. This one was in September. This is in December. It's not that. If you had something that took place in February, well, generally speaking, it's going to be March, February. January, February, March. And you have, something that might exist outside of that. But for whatever reason, they did the same thing last year. It's like all the matches just happened to be within the same month or two. And when you're doing that, it's like it kind of feels like, well, how much effort did you take in going through the matches and picking stuff out? So here are the matches as they were ranked by WoW. And first thing to be brought up here is that they actually have a full hour-long episode that exists on their YouTube channel that did not air anywhere, featuring these episodes. Which only made me feel like, well, why didn't this air on TV? Especially, at the year-end review or, the last show before the new year. Why wouldn't this have aired? I mean, it perfectly is packaged as a television show, minus the commercials. Why wouldn't you do it? But that's a question for WoW. And, I guess for another day. But the matches that they picked out were number 5. And all of these matches you can go to their YouTube channel. They got them all on one particular episode. You can watch them in order as they are listed. Big Rigs and Bourbon versus Animal Instinct. That was episode 323, aired February 15th, 2025. All of these are 2025, obviously. This was the dog collar match. Whereas the match in and of itself, I can kind of take it or leave it. Going into the match as how they got there is where it was kind of off for me, and particularly with the props being used like those terrible tiny collars that they used as weapons. Like it didn't even look good on television as a weapon, so I don't know why they had those things. Number 4, they had Santana Garrett versus Paola Mayfield. This was I want to say probably their first confrontation with each other. I do not remember if it was the second or first, but I believe it was the first. But it aired on February the 1st, episode 321. Not much to say about this because, I have more to say about Santana Garrett later, and I'm sure we'll get there. Number 3 was the Championship Battle Royal. That was the 11th of January, episode 318. I hope I'm reading my notes right. This is, of course, where Classmaster would succeed and she would win the vacated the Wild Championship because the Beast just couldn't take it anymore and she quit. Or more importantly, in reality, she got a job on Beast Games and went there instead. Which is surprisingly because the next match has 2 other individuals that have now just popped up on Beast Games. That being number 2, Miami Sweet Heat versus Holly Swag and Penelope Pink Tag Team Championship match in the steel cage. Much like the dog collar match, if you're talking about the match in and of itself, is probably fine. When you're looking at the things that led into that, there is where we have the issue. When we have that thing, that's like, okay, good Lord. The angle was just bad. Now, this aired October 4th, 2025, episode 404. So they had moved over into season 4 by then. This is where Penelope Pink turns on Holly Swag. Miami Sweet Heat wins the Tag Team Championship for the 5th time. David McLean's hollering and screaming on the microphone about how Holly Swag was a pot stirrer and causing problems, only to change his mind. Like, well, she was blinded by the lights of Lana Star, etc., etc., etc. They're just really inconsistent stuff. But that is where they were, and that's what they, again, allegedly voted for. And honestly, I haven't looked at Beast Games yet, but we have seen them on social media. They were posted as being a part of Beast Games. So my real question now is, will that intervene with them going forward? I haven't looked at what the shooting schedule for Beast Games is. So I don't know whether or not by the time Wild comes around to another taping cycle, will the twins be available? Will they be able to show up and be part of the show? Because if I were a betting man, much like I said with the Beast in the previous season, first season, if there was a choice between the two at this point, I'm pretty sure they're taking Beast Games. In much the same way as Holly Swag, took the power slap, even though, I mean, give that young lady some credit and pat on the back, E for effort, whatever you want to call it. Just give her something because she's got some guts. I don't know if I could just stand there and let somebody slap me as hard as they possibly physically can across the face. To the point that I need to have earplugs and a mouth guard to make sure that they don't shatter my eardrum or bust my teeth. And the last time I saw her, she got knocked out, which I'm pretty sure she was fully expecting will happen at some point in time. But anyhow, that's beside the point. That was number 2. And then on the show, they left the last one as allegedly a surprise. Like, you have to tune in, but I mean, it's YouTube. You can just scroll down to it. It's not going to make any big difference. The number 1 match that they have listed for Wow's top 5 of 2025 is Big Rigs and Bourbon versus Holly Swag and Penelope Pink, which took place on March the 8th, episode 327 for the Tag Team Championships. I didn't have any problem with that one in particular. In fact, of the matches that were kind of roped around in the tag team scene at that point, that probably was one of the least offensive. So, but was it the best match? I mean, was it the best match overall? Because when I thought about some of the matches, I felt like attaching it to a storyline is potentially part of the problem. When I look at theirs, almost every match here is attached to either a number 1 contenders match or a storyline of some description, whether the storyline was good or not. Like Big Rigs and Bourbon Animal Instinct, the dog collar, I think they were still tag team champions. Santana Garrett and Mayfield, that was the number 1 contender thing. Championship Battle Royal speaks for itself. Miami Sweet Heat's Holly Swag and Penelope Pink tag titles. Big Rigs and Bourbon, Holly Swag and Penelope Pink tag titles. So, you know, you're looking at things that are just kind of roped into, I guess, what theoretically should be their upper echelon matches. But surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, there are matches that have taken place in the wild that were good matches that just kind of got lost in the shuffle because there was nothing to them. They were just matches that they had. And unfortunately, and I don't mean this as a knock to any of the persons that's there, unfortunately you have a significant amount of wrestlers there who only wrestled the weekends that they're WOW, and so they're probably going to be pretty basic in terms of what they can do inside of a ring. So it gets hard to look at that and be like, all right, these are some of the greatest wrestlers in the world, and look at this fantastic match. You know, it's kind of hard to do that when they're buried underneath those things. But there's also the people who are very talented, who train and sleep, eat, and breathe wrestling, and when they do get the opportunity to get in the ring with each other, there's some magic there. You don't get it often, but it does happen. So I wanted to go through my particular picks for the things that I listed off earlier. Now, if I were going to have handed out awards or whatever the case may be, I'm not sure if everybody would want to accept them for what I had going, but because it was a conversation on the job and I said that I would try, here's my effort. So here we go, folks. I will attempt to name off some of the people that would have won in my universe on the WOW roster for these things, and I'll try to explain the why. And if you have anybody that you would personally pick, you know, just leave it in the comments below. Let us start with Tag Team of the Year. It would be a very easy thing for me to be like, oh, it's Miami Sweet Heat. But I can't in good conscience say it, because Miami Sweet Heat has been wrapped up basically around the same persons for the majority of the year. That's not always a bad thing, by the way, but because they've been wrapped up with the same persons with such a convoluted and absurd storyline that didn't really pay off all that well. Like, it's very difficult for me to turn around and be like, they're the best tag team in the league. I don't care how many times they had the title. I personally don't think that's enough to give you the nod as a top tag team or the top tag team. The tag team that I like lost too many times for me to say that they could ever be tag team of the year. That being, Brat Pack. But who I do think should have it, if you were going to hand it out to somebody, Big Rigs and Bourbon. Big Rigs and Bourbon, though they were not tag team champions all year round, they have been featured pretty prominently. They were tag team champions. They had a pretty impressive array of opponents over the course of their time on the screen, whether that be against Miami Sweet Heat, whether that be against Penelope Pink, Holly Swag, whether that be against Animal Instinct, whether that be against the Environmentalists, whether that's also against, even if it was in a four-way, fellow baby faces, Princess Ozzy and Tormenta. They've had a larger variety of opponents, in my opinion. And they also had, even though I cannot say that it was a good angle / storyline, once it began, it was very concise and it moved forward, and it was probably the best storyline that WoW was capable of doing. So, my nod for Tag Team of the Year in WoW, Big Rigs and Bourbon. Jesse Jones and Big Rig Betty. Well, let me go backwards one. The best angle, because I just mentioned it. The best angle storyline, a few in my opinion, because it was the least tainted. Big Rigs and Bourbon versus the Environmentalists. And I'll explain why. Because I hated how it started. I hated how it started because you couldn't see anything. It was just, well, we saw them, we heard that they crossed the picket line and then they got into a fight. It was a stupid start to an angle, but all of the angles pretty much start stupidly, so I can't hold that against it. But once it got going, this was probably the closest that you're going to get to, like, okay, this is what wrestling is. Somebody did something personal to the other person and she's pissed off about it. Jesse Jones cut a manic promo, even if it was like 30 seconds. Well, I don't even think it was that long. It might have been like 10 or 15. She cut a manic promo in front of the camera over a stick. But it was kind of tied into, okay, this stick belonged to, it was gifted to her by Tracy Smothers, this, that. The only thing that I wish had happened beyond her going crazy over it is that she had expressed why it was important. But then you also got the Environmentalists, who Sprout Green, surprisingly enough, cut a pretty good promo on the mic. She ain't coming back, so I mean, lots of money and time invested well there, fellas. Just like the rest of the people that you fork out this cash to train them so they can leave. Anyhow, they actually cheated to win. They actually, stole this thing. It looked like an impressive weapon opposed to the kitten collars that Animal Instinct used, or what was the other thing that they had? Because it was some other non-weapon weapon that happened on the WoW some time ago. Oh, like the book. Like just dumb stuff like that. That big log that Jesse Jones walking around with, you can at least buy the idea that if somebody were to wallop you in the head with that thing, you would go down. So it wasn't a proper, full-on, fleshed out month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months long angle or program, I should say. But in WoW's universe, the more concise, the shorter is probably less time for them to screw it up. So I am going to say that the best angle / program that they've had was that one, and they probably fell into that by accident. Wrestler of the Year for WoW. Nobody. Yep, I'm sorry to say it. I would easily just disqualify the entire roster off of this. Not that I think that everybody there is bad. Not that I don't think that everybody, certain persons didn't have good matches. I would be wrong to say that. But I also think that WoW created an environment where it's impossible to pick a best wrestler. No one is able to stand out for the next person. No one's able to be a top dog there. I know the easy thing would be like, well, Classmaster was the champion, so she should be the wrestler of the year. No. I'm sorry. Even her booking just didn't do it. The matches that she had weren't like they were setting the world on fire. Using this flimsy book as a weapon, not having a certified finish, never cutting a promo, never explaining a thing about why she's there, what she's doing, what the championship means. It was almost always Samantha Smart doing it for her. It became her thing, not the Classmasters. Classmasters was just a big lunkhead that was walking around doing her bidding. So no, there's not a person there. Tormenta, you would think that, hey, she had this great story trying to get the championship, but she really didn't. It didn't feel like she was on a journey to get the championship. She felt like she just looked into it. And then, when she got it, she got hurt. So, I mean, it's Santana Garrett. Same thing. I want to be the champion. Genesis, I want to be the champion. Princess Aussie, I want to be the champion. Penelope Pink, I want to be all of them. It's the same song and dance over and over and over again. Nobody stands out. And it's a shame because several of them I like. Or at least I think there's potential there, but WoW does not open up the gates to let them run. So there is no best wrestler of the year. The manager of the year, however, Lana Star. There you go. Well, Lana Star's been involved with some goofy storylines also. I mean, I know that they're trying their best to tell the stories as best that they can and try to generate some level of continuity, but it's just very difficult. But Lana, in my opinion, is heads and shoulders the best manager that place has. When you look at the field of competition, start with Arianna Gambino. What has she done as a manager? She barely stands at ringside of anybody that she managed at all. Anytime she's ever come out there, it's like, hey, it's Arianna Gambino, come down and sit next to me. So I'm not even sure that you should even refer to her as a manager. Campanelli is not really a manager so much as she's a manager / wrestler, I guess, if you want to call her that. But again, she leans more into just the head honcho of her own little faction rather than a manager in this particular environment. We know that Lopez no longer qualifies, even though I think she did manage like once or twice at the beginning of the year, but her track record is so underwhelming. I mean, what can you say? She had a match or two with Catalina Speed in the beginning of the year, and then she just kind of phased herself out of that. Then you got Samantha Smart, who, although did manage their champion for a significant portion of the time, her promos are Samantha Smart promos. By that I mean it is very much a rinse and repeat, and there's not a lot of driving home an angle, a point. Is these people are stupid, I'm smart, we deserve a title, we're better than you. Oh yeah, now the wording changes. Yeah, the wording absolutely changes. But when you get down, when you strip it all away, you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, that's pretty much it. These idiots out here, the stupids and blah, 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 blah. For as vaunted as her intelligence happens to be, she doesn't seem to be able to cut at this point. She might grow into it, but at this point she doesn't seem to be able to cut either a scathing promo on the opponent, a poignant promo to try to push a point, or a promo to try to get the Classmaster over as a big deal. What she is able to do is, like I said, she can do the Samantha Smart promo. She can tell people that they're dumb, and that is the Classmaster should be the champion, and we deserve a shot. Give us a shot. And she'll throw in some stuff that's completely unrelated to wrestling whatsoever to show how smart she is. This will not go anywhere because Sprout Greens is gone. But at one point I would have listed most potential as the environmentalists. They had potential. It would have been an easier thing for them to gain momentum had they, even if they had to give up the stick overall in their match or feud with Big Rigs and Bourbon. It would have been a better thing for the team, assuming the team was going to remain, that they won. Of course, that didn't happen, so, and at this point, we've got to move on. But of the people that they had there that came in and whatnot, they had some promise underneath them. I've always liked Scout Parker. Although I think that the window of her being able to at least explain why she's Scout Parker, that thing is long gone. She seems like she works very hard. I know I've said that I wish that she would be able to take some matches outside a while so she can get facial expressions down and maybe a little bit more of her timing and whatnot. But I still like her. I think there's potential there. Having her paired off with even though it was a dumb name, Sprout Greens, she was good on the microphone if nothing else. And that could have gotten them somewhere. It could have hid the deficiencies of the other person. She could have been the mouth. Scout could have did the work in the ring for the most part. But since I believe that Ms. Greens has gone off into the ether like a lot of other wild talents, I need to do a list of that one. And how many people were touted as these, hey, look who we signed up. We got Destiny Diesel and Miranda Mirage and this person and that person, like they're great signings. And how many of them stuck around? That would be an interesting project. I may have to think about that one. Anyhow, best utility player. Person that got used the most, didn't necessarily win, but they was there to provide good matches for everyone else around them. Why, that would be Sylvia Sanchez. I think that became her, more or less her job. I'm here to try to make sure that everyone else that I'm in the ring with looks relatively good and have a good match with them. She was never going anywhere. She wasn't going to win anything. She doesn't need to be tossed into another tag team because whether she had like 3 different tag team partners at this point, 2 of them in the Banditas and then Fury that didn't go anywhere. As he tried to explain, well, they decided that they were going to be partners because, they want to go out the tag titles and that didn't do anything. But she does give good matches. So you got Sylvia Sanchez as my best utility player. Most overrated. I here we go. And I'm sorry about that because the microphone's picking up my chair and all that stuff. I need to put some oil on this thing. Anyway, most overrated. It is a tie. A tie between who, you might ask? Paola Mayfield and Xena Phoenix. They're overrated for two different reasons. Mayfield, regardless of her status as a star outside of wrestling and reality TV personality and all that stuff like that, I am sorry to say I still do not see anything impressive in her work in the ring. She just isn't there yet. And yes, I have seen her take on some matches on the independents. Well, I should say take on. I saw some matches of hers prior to WoW on the independents. And they weren't bad, but they weren't overly elaborate either. And she wasn't like working as a main event girl. Here in the WoW, they tried to push her as a top talent and main event. And it's Paola Mayfield. She's got 1 million followers and this, that, like they wanted her to be big. Or at least it felt that way. And she's not ready for that position. That's and this seems to be a running theme. That's not to say that she cannot get there. But WoW is not doing her any favors by pushing her ahead of her skill set, which is what they do with a lot of people. And I don't even think that's debatable. Some people are put on that show well ahead of where they need to be there or not. See Crystal Waters. Some people get on that show, they should not be on national TV. Doesn't mean they're bad people. Doesn't mean that they don't want to get a career in wrestling, but it's too soon for them. And then you're exposing them for not being good before they get a chance to actually start to become good. And I forgot to mention that I believe Maverick is part of one of the managers that I couldn't, I couldn't list her as the best. I know that she's intended to be annoying, but the voice that she puts on to talk about Paola Mayfield is just grating on the nerves now, so no. Anyhow, back to the point. Mayfield, for her look, for whatever it is that they think that they're getting out of her, and I think that's really pushing it to think that, hey, well, she's on here, maybe she'll bring some of her reality TV followers with her, like all of that stuff. It doesn't seem to work out. There, to the best of my knowledge, is no discernible difference in Mayfield being there or not. The finish sucks ass that she does. It just looks terrible. Some of the work that's going on, the punches or the slamming the head, I'm like, it looks like she's playing around. There are other people there that could do a better and more solid job. I mean, yes, we all know wrestling's work, but at some level it's got to at least look convincing enough to where you can suspend your disbelief. If you're just going to go up there and just kind of go through the motions, no one's going to suspend your disbelief. Now, on the other side of that, Xena Phoenix has the opposite thing. Xena Phoenix looks good. Xena Phoenix has a good presence in the ring. Look, much like I said with Parker, I think she works hard. I think she's trying. I don't know if she has any aspirations of wrestling beyond WoW, but it looks, at least there's at least some effort that it appears to be there. That she's, working to get some snap in the moves or the execution down and all of that stuff. The problem with that she has is not because of her, it's because WoW, David McClain specifically, push her beyond her status also. It's kind of like the Nepo baby thing. When you got somebody in wrestling, I don't know, we haven't seen this in a while, But way back in the day when Eric Watts had joined WCW, the only reason that people just started to overall dislike him is because they were pushing him well beyond what he had any right to be. He just got there. We're going to throw you in with the top heels in this company because you're going to be a star, kid. Same thing that made the world turn on The Rock. We're going to push you past everything that you're ready for because you're going to be a star. Now, in his case, it worked. But he had to take a long way around to do it. In this case, having a David McClain, oh, this is the one that the industry is talking about. No one's talking about Xena Phoenix like that. She's not given the position to grow into whoever it is that she needs to be. Instead, it's another case of you need to come out of the gate strong right now. She talks comfortably on the microphone. She just doesn't have a lot of context or content to talk about. It's just, I'm leaving a legacy in here. Well, the legacy is about to change. Well, what was Wild's legacy to begin with? For it to be changed. It is only because you have somebody there that is actively shoveling Xena Phoenix as an idea down people's throats that it puts her in this overrated situation. She probably would be just fine if she was left alone. Just let her have the matches, let her win the matches, and move forward. Instead of him trying to be her hype man. That is probably going to be more of a hindrance than it is a help. Underrated. Scout Parker. For reasons I already listed. And inconsistent / angle / storyline. The Holly Swag drama. From start to finish, this has got to have been the most inconsistent, terrible, ridiculous, over the top, dumb ass storyline I have ever seen in professional wrestling when you look at it from the beginning to the end. And the fact that they felt so proud about it that they wanted to re-air this thing for another month solid tells me that they're completely blind to that. I mean, they went all the way back. From the moment that Swag and her mom showed up and Lana Starr, this alleged millionaire rich person, got a mansion who, despite all of that, doesn't have a Uber app on the phone or Lyft or able to call a cab or car service that she can call. We need a ride. I don't have any money. We'll give you these tickets. And that idiot Holly Swag, oh wow, tickets are wild, let's go. Forget the money, this is invaluable. I mean, all of that. All of it. Going to the hotel, having an identity mistaken, running up a $5,000 bill, and we'll wrestle you for it. Oh, we don't have the money. We'll do this instead. We'll work to try to fix all of this stuff in this already immaculately clean mansion. Then she gets paid off, and I don't want to leave because reasons. I'm perfectly fine being your lackey now because a couple of scarves and a $5 pair of plastic shades. Just on and on and on how awful this thing was. Getting her to the point that you're painting this girl who's supposed to be a victim, smacking her mother in the head, and then you're supposed to feel sorry for her later. I mean, she hit her mom and her mom's best friend and every other babyface that got in her way in the side of the head with a rock. And then you get all the way to the end and for no reasons whatsoever just decide like, hey, let's just screw around with the twins and try to get them to turn on each other. And then Lana Starr and Penelope Pink just go along with it. And then when that fails, act like it didn't happen. This is all Holly Swag's fault. Just stupidity. Whoever wrote that thing should be immediately demoted. It's like, I'm sorry. We just got to get somebody else to come in here and do this right, because if this is the best that you got, you need to go back to school. And there you have it. And there you have it. That was a little recap and what I would have. Oh, did I say match of the year? Oh, yeah. The best match that I can recall seeing on WOW's television, honestly, that was like exciting for me to watch. Nikki Nashville versus Holiday. It is about as random a match as you could have. Now, I mean, that is easily, and I can understand if somebody right now is like, what? Those two? I get it. Because it is random. It had no angle, it had no storyline, it had nothing preceding it and nothing afterwards. But that match, like, I enjoyed watching the match. And I honestly sat and thought, I cannot think of another match in recent memory or even going further back that I would honestly say wasn't tainted by some stupid storyline or the match being underdone because they had inexperienced persons in it, where a veteran is trying to carry it and try to make it look good. Those two both have the qualifications of being wrestlers and could carry a match, and it showed. And they look great together. It's just a shame that we probably won't see it again, at least not in the WOW ring. And what I should have also put down is like underwhelming return. And that honor is going to belong to Tadvik. I really didn't understand why they went through what they did. It's like, all right, well, it's Tadvik the Gamer. Let's show you this, that. Like she left as some, big star and turned around as a conquering hero. I'm not saying that she didn't deserve some level of the red carpet being laid out. They just did too much. They tried to make it sound like, oh, one of our WOW stars is coming back. And what? She came back for a match and then disappeared. Which, by the way, same rules apply for Americana. She came back for like a match and then she disappeared. I'm going to go ahead and call the time of death of Americana's career in 2025, because I sincerely doubt that she's going to turn around and come back now, as it's now been shown that she's pregnant. So congratulations to Samantha Sage, the person who portrayed Americana. So congratulations to her. Americana, however, well, we'll see you next lifetime. And that's that. So, now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's move these papers. I think we got a little bit more to go. And for the first time in several weeks, we are going to get into a review of WOW's latest episode, WOW Women of Rustic. So you stay tuned. We'll get through maybe some talking to talk and musical interlude. And then when we come back, it'll be time. Not Vader time, but time for the review. Stay tuned.
"2025 was supposed to be my year. Instead, I was overlooked, I was doubted, and frankly, I was not given the respect that I deserve. Not from the locker room, not from the so-called decision makers, not from the people that sit there and clap for mediocrity and call it greatness. So I've been watching everyone out there celebrating, and I've just been sitting here remembering every slight, every loss, every time my name has been left out of the conversation when it should have been at the top of the damn list. And that ends now, because on January 11th, Karter Cauffman is entering the Nightmare Rumble. And 2026 will be a grand slam.
I just beat Shayna Baszler. Why? Because I'm B3CCA and I'm the Dream Wave Women's Champion. And 2026. I don't care what you throw my way. Because let me show you. Let me sing to you. Let me wrestle for you. Let me be your champion.
And we are back. This episode, here's our opening slate of Wild Women of Wrestling. What the title is, I have no idea. Why? For some reason, they decided not to do it this week. I don't know if I'm still on the press release thing or not, but then I thought, I was like, maybe they removed me. But when I went to the Paramount press site, it didn't seem like they had any of that at all. So normally I would give you, the opening slate with the name and episode number and all that good stuff like that, but it apparently seems like that is not the case, at least not for this episode, so I do not know. What I can tell you is that it aired on January the 3rd, and it was listed as Women of Wrestling 413. Well, yeah, is it 4? Yeah, 413. So, now that I'm thinking, let's go into the site right now and see if they've changed anything. Because maybe, just maybe, it might have been flipped around or whatever the case may be. Oh, okay, hey. All right. So here we go. Lights up. 413. All right, so we do have a title. And we got that real time, so good for them. And also you might hear me taking a drink out of this Celsius because this microphone is super duper strong. All right, yeah, I needed that one. And since there was no last week episode, why don't I read what they have here for what that episode was supposed to be. Las Vegas is buzzing as Fremont Street Experience continues hosting Wild Women Wrestling. The battle lines are drawn as former champions fight to reclaim their legacy and bold new contenders step up to prove they belong. Brazil's Dynamite black belt star Gabriella Cruz teams up with electric dance sensation Lil J Boogie to take on the seasoned claws of Animal Instinct, Goldie Collins, and Katarina Jinx. Well, that was half of the show, yeah. Okay, I guess that's all they wanted to put in there. The show opened up with a backstage clip of the Fab Four with the two Las Vegas showgirls. This precedes them going into a recap package of episodes from weeks ago, and they got another opening package for the show. This one's is new, and I'm going to just say I'm glad that they got rid of that other opening song. Man, that thing was awful. Awful. I am so happy. And I'll be doing a lot of here's the pros, here's the cons, here's the positive, here's the negative. So the positive here is, yes, I'm glad that they got rid of it. The other song that they had like a couple of weeks ago. Now, what did they use that for, like a month maybe? I don't know if I would consider it a negative, but I will say, while it clearly does not want anybody to be a bad guy here, and whoever's the heels, they don't want to be booed. And just the opening thing, you got a couple of people there that don't mind it and will accept the responsibility of being a heel on TV. But WoW in and of itself clearly doesn't want to do that. Well, they got this thing. Be yourself. Be a winner and win. Whatever. I'm trying not to curse. But whatever it is that they got, it's like this motto of positivity that they decide to slap into their opening credits, regardless of who's up on the screen. Like whatever dastardly things that these people might attempt to do exist underneath this. Be yourself. Be a star and win. Oh, boy. Whew. I'll tell you. I would rather that be and I'm sure I've said this before because it's not like it's a new motto for them. Beforehand, they had the motto, but it was like they never talk about it. It just popped up when it was convenient. Now they got it in the open credits. Like, well, why couldn't it just be a campaign that they had in the show? It doesn't need to be part of their opening credit. Now, is it going to affect the show? Is it going to cause any problem? No, it's not going to do any of that stuff. I understand. Because I'm sure somebody out there is going to be like, wow, what's the big problem? This is fine. Yeah, okay, it's fine. It just doesn't do well for portraying an environment of combat, sport, or conflict. When our opening motto is be a star, be yourself, win, whatever the fuck it says. I lost that one. I'll try not to cuss anymore. But that, it is for all intents and purposes, while theoretically is a combat sport. But it's not going to paint the image of that by doing this. And I'll leave it at that. After the opening, we get Lana starting to fast forward to come out to the ring. You hear Nigel Zane introduce himself and David McClain, which I'm not sure why on earth he bothered to do that. Especially when the first thing you get is a lower third, and then they're going to say each other's names like lovers for the next hour. And it's going to be like at least 20 or 25 different David, Nigel, David, Nigel, David, Nigel. So I don't know what purpose it served. They're like, hey, it's me, Nigel Zane, along with David McClain. Because you won't know who they are, but by the time that hour's finished, you'll know exactly who they are. Nigel also says something to the effect of, hey, and last week, we saw Tormenta defend the title. I was like, okay, by last week, I'm sure you meant a month ago. Barely into the show, we already have time and space issues because, you know, since WoW shoots outside of the realm of normal time, you get this. Now, and I know I sound so terrible about the show right now. I honestly didn't have a problem with the show, but it's just those little things. It's just the little things. So Lana and the Fab Four come out the ringside. Lana cuts a good promo, but she tends to do that, and I want to applaud her for it because she at least seems like she gets the assignment. I know I've said it in previous episodes. I will say it now. I don't know whether or not these things are written, and she just does a good job performing it. I don't know if she just has a handle on it just in general. But of the managers that's there, applaud her. She at least she gets inflection, facial expression, all of that. She at least gives something. And she reiterates that they have the tag titles and there's only one other belt that they need. Notice, by the way, that there was no mentions of the trios title, so that shows how important those things are. And the commentator, I think it was David, they pretty much just kind of co-signed that. I was like, yeah, they only need the championship now. Like, okay. I guess those trios titles are exactly what I said they were for the last year or so. Worthless. They're vanity belts that only exist to make that team happy. So, this brings out the Classmaster and later Santana Garrett, all claiming that they deserve a shot solely based on being the former champion. I wrote why. And then David McClain decides to have a three-way, which I wrote down, well, it's a good thing they got into this argument right then and there because he didn't have a main event, apparently. So, how fortunate that they all just decided, like, hey, I deserve a shot, me too. So, and he just decided to give him a shot. Now, having said that, about them and their title shots and all that stuff, let's just address Santana Garrett for a moment. Now, I like Santana Garrett. And of many of the people that's on that roster, she's probably one of the few that had walked into the show with some level of existing credibility. Although, if WoW was a monster, I would say it's slowly eating that away. I really feel like that. And it ain't many people that I would be like, hey, you need to leave. But depending on what her goals are or aspirations or whatever's left that she might want to do in wrestling, she needs to get out of there. The WoW is not going to do a thing for her at this point. I'm sorry. What else is there left for her to do? Even if she got the championship, what is that going to do for her? She needs to go. As a sidebar, when I was working with somebody else that was doing like a movie podcast or whatnot, we had a conversation that would talked about like the slasher movies that we grew up on. And I brought up the topic of, well, at what point is revenge no longer enough? And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, well, think about it. With the exception of Halloween, because Michael Myers was just evil, almost all of them, and I say almost because I'm sure I've forgotten about somebody, almost all of them existed on some level of revenge in the slasher genre. I'll get even with you for whatever reasons, How dare you parents burn me alive for trying to murder your children? I'll get them where you can't stop me in their sleep. Freddy Krueger. Voorhees' mom, mad at the counselors because they were all screwing around before, when Jason drowned. And then that later transferred over to Jason as motivation. Prom night, almost the troll, not troll, leprechaun. You stole my gold, whatever. There's always revenge, right? I'm coming after you for this thing. Until you start getting sequels, and then it's like by the time you get to 2 and 3 and 4, it is no longer revenge. Now they're just doing it just to do it. Like, there's no way that you can say that Jason hadn't already gone through every camp counselor that had anything to do with him potentially drowning. Same thing with Krueger. By the time you get to 5 and 6 years down the line on Elm Street, there's no way that you could be like, yeah, the guy that helped burn him alive is still here, or his child. They're like, no, he's done it. He's already gotten rid of everybody. And there's no longer revenge now. It's just, I'm doing it just because I like doing it. At what point is revenge no longer a motivating factor? Or this runs out? Now, I told you that story to tell you this one. At what point does being a former champion no longer give you access to the title? It is her sole point of existing in the WoW. Anytime that she has to come out and try to justify why she deserves a shot at anything. And remember, guys, I was a former WoW champion. That was in 2016. First off, how many people watching this show even remember it? It's not like they put footage up of that or show matches from it or even have a photo of her with a belt. It's just, hey, I was a former WoW champion too, And it was during a dark period of WoW. Nobody remembers this. It is legitimately 10 years ago. And it's the singular credential that she has. And they constantly use it. Why? It's over and over and over and over again. Here's a former world champion. There's Santana Garrett, a former world, and you're going to hear it. I promise you. The next time she shows up on that show, they're going to throw that out there again. Hey, guys, Santana Garrett's coming to the ring. Former world champion. God damn, move on. Give her something else. This is the reason why I said she needs to leave. WoW is not going to do anything for her. It has already drained her of whatever credentials and credibility that she's had. It's not too late for her to hit the indies or try to get to some other high-end promotion to try to rebuild that. It ain't too late. But WoW is draining her. She has been knocked down to being a one-note joke. Show up, smile, put somebody over, do it again. That's the punchline. Because anytime she gets close to winning anything, she'll do the same dumb thing that she's always done. All right, even though I just gave this person a super kick and they're laying flat on the mat, I'm not going to attempt to pin them. I'll go over here and try to do this handstand thing where somebody can yank my wrist out from underneath me. It's just on and on with it. And never mind the fact, and I know I'm ranting right now, but never mind the fact that when it's convenient for the show, oh, well, I can't just give you a title shot. You have to earn it. You got to be a number one contender. You have to earn your spot. Isn't that what we heard about the Classmaster a couple of weeks back? Like, what was it, 2 months ago? But here, comes right on out. Hey, Classmaster deserves a shot. Well, you know what? You got a good point. And you got a good point, Penelope Pink. And you've got a good point, Santana Garrett. So I'll tell you what, all of y'all got a shot. Number one contenders match. There's no consistency to this place. None. And the most important part of all of this is the thing that even is not even remotely brought up. Reina Del Rey should be the number one contender right now. First off, Classmaster shouldn't even be in the conversation. What good reason does she have to be there? She just got beat. And according to their timeline, that would have been like 2 weeks ago. Even though in reality it happened like a month back. Or over a month ago. Why on earth would David McClain stand up there and be like, well, you know what, Samantha Smart, you've got a good point. Classmaster does deserve a shot. For what? Why does she deserve a shot? She lost. She jumped ahead of having to earn a spot again, even though she was told she had to do it. All they did was come right back out and start complaining, and then he gave him a shot. She lost that, and then rinse and repeat. Samantha Smart comes right back out again, starts complaining, and she gets another shot. Why does she deserve a shot? For the same reasons Santana Garrett does, because once you're the champion, then you just deserve a shot forever. So anyhow, sorry. McClain still insisting that the Wild Championship is the most valued prize in women's wrestling. I don't know who believes that. If you do believe it, I got a bridge I want to sell you. The first match. Wait a minute. No, sorry. We got a backstage. We got Sibley Scoles as she introduces J Cruz. Jeez. Gabriella Cruz and J Boogie for the tag team match. Nothing against her, but I really thought that I was never going to have to see or hear the name J Boogie. I shouldn't even say J Boogie. Little J Boogie, because they don't say little. They pronounce it pretty clean. Little J Boogie. Zayn was terrible with calling David's name, just like I told you that he was going to be, and he will continue to be. And the question that I got before we even go into the match at all was, how long are they going to be in Vegas? That just was like a random shout in the room. And I'm like, bro, it's going to be a while. I know it's starting to wear on you, and this is exactly what I said was going to happen. Like, it starts off great that you see a different venue and that you got this new look and all that stuff like that, but it's already been, what, we're in the 2 months? And it's already just starting to look all the same. Like, all right, well, they're still there on the street in Vegas. the Fremont Street Experience, and Wild's taking over Vegas. Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't think anywhere close to taking over Vegas, but, you do you and I'll do me. So anyhow, back to the review. The crowd at least seemed relatively more into this. I'm not even going to say relatively. They seemed more into this than the previous taping, because the previous tapings, they were just kind of like there. It just felt like people that were walking down the street like, oh, there's wrestling over there. Let me take a look. Here, they look like they put up a few more stands so that, all right, maybe some interested parties can come in and sit down and watch it. This was largely done with J Boogie working the match. Again, this is Animal Instinct versus Lil J Boogie and Gabriella Cruz. I don't know if they were trying to, they being the commentators, trying to sell the idea like, oh man, she's just come back from this injury and, is she ready to get in the ring? Which if that were the case, that would have been insanely dumb. J Boogie was last seen on TV in December 2024. Now, we're talking about their television timeline now, because the reality of it was she was gone long before then. That was in August, I think. And she's returning now, January 3rd, 2026. On television time, that's over a year. Right? First off, who remembers her being injured? Because it didn't happen on television. And Dave McClain goes out of his way to make sure that it didn't happen as a wrestling thing. She didn't. Remember, she didn't get hurt wrestling. She got hurt dancing. So that much got, made sure to be mentioned so that you didn't think or associate injury with WOW, I'm sure. So then they have her in there, and they present this like it's a comeback from injury, which, again, in reality, really? It's been a year. And never mind that he already brought up that, during this time she was with the circus, and then she saw Gabriella on TV and decided she wanted to come back to WOW. Like, that was her reason for wanting to come back to WOW. She tuned in and saw Gabriella Cruz. Doing what? When? I don't even remember her being on TV all that much, other than that segment that she had where she was biking down the street and talking about her hometown and slicing up a banana. So anyhow, it was fine for what it was. There was absolutely no reason for Animal Instinct to lose this for some team that just randomly thrown together. There was a point in the match where Boogie gets tossed into the ropes and she has to flip herself around so that she can make her body accommodate whatever it is that Animal Instinct was about to do next. And when she finally gets the tag Cruz in, both of the Cruz gets to run across and beat him up for a little while. I'm cutting down on time here, so just bear with me. When we get to the end, Jinx, I gotta reset the table here. Cruz is in the ring. She's the legal person. All right, keep that in mind. Animal Instinct is there. Cruz is knocking him off. This is after Lil J Boogie makes the hot tag. Now, Jinx goes around and yanks Boogie off of the apron, which Cruz was about to make the tag. She goes over and she sees that J Boogie is down on the ground, and she just starts jumping up and down like she's angry, I guess. She charges over to the other side of the ring and, like an idiot, just gets hoisted up in the air and dropped head first across the turnbuckle. She then is rolled up, and I got to give points to Animal Instinct for the pin. I like the way that he did it. Jinx kind of pushes up on the backside of Goldie Collins to help the pin. And plus to the referee also, he was in a good position to where he would not see that. So bravo to all parties involved in that. So Animal Instinct wins with Jinx pushing Collins for leverage, and then they leave. After that, then Boogie gets on the mic and cuts a promo. I wrote, it's nice that she got promo time and that she called out, Animal Instinct for using a rope, even though that I was like, well, that's, first off, how would she have known that? She was on the floor. How would she have even seen that they used a rope? Other than the fact that I know that they're supposed to use a rope. And even at that, it wasn't even in the camera angle that a rope was used, because the rope would have been used by Jinx, that unless I missed something with Collins. But the ropes would have been used by her to try to push forward on Collins for the pin. So it should have been more of they used leverage or whatever. Doesn't sound as good as using the ropes. But again, Lil J Boogie shouldn't have known that. She was allegedly knocked down on the floor. She shouldn't have seen anything. So I don't know why she's like, hey, you guys, did you all see that? She used the ropes. That's unfair. That. So she does the promo, and it's what you would expect out of a wild baby face. Hey, I know he lost, but man, it was great to be back. And that type of thing. Well, his positivity is through and through. Well, like, well, shit, if you can't be mad, why would I be mad at Animal Instinct? Yeah, the match was fine. And I can say that I enjoyed watching the match, for what it was. It wasn't the best thing, but, my meter for it being good or bad kind of fluctuates depending on what they're doing. But seriously, I was like, if the baby faces that are there and suffered the loss can't be mad at them, then why on earth would I be? She just skipped right around it. Like, oh, hey, well, it was great to be back. And, the wow, and my friend Gary, all of that just went towards that. And then Cruz does a promo. Again, it's probably not her strong suit. She, much like Tormenta, like she's a better speaker than her, but she's losing something in translation. Like you're in the middle of Vegas, like, and everybody in Brazil. I'm like, oh, all right, well, that's wonderful, but it's not really pushing any particular narrative right here. And yes, getting on the microphone and being able to express yourself and all that stuff. Yes, that is the plus here. That is the pro here. I'm glad that they got a chance to do it. But neither one of these promos went anywhere. It was just, all right, so here you go. And so what? We lost. It's great. I love teaming with you and you love teaming with me and we're going to do it again. So just stuff like that. And McClain cuts him off to start talking on the house mic because he has to do that. During the match, I already mentioned that they talked about Boogie joining the circus. They didn't say what she did, but she joined the circus. She probably should have just stayed with the circus. And what circus? Is there a circus left? Anyhow. So we get out of that and we go to them doing a promo spot for Monsters of Metal. They're coming up next, Monsters of Metal. Next segment after that, we get Wild doing a recap package of Monsters of Metal versus Top Tier. They try to present this as a big deal and a tragedy of the decision being reversed. Oh no, the referee said that you didn't do whatever. I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, they bumped him, so they're disqualified. So, here we go towards our next normal WoW-centric promo. The Sibley Scoles segment. She interviews Monsters and Metal behind the LED boards. Daisy Lane does the same promo that everyone else does, which is I'm back to saying her transition out of being Pep Raleigh at this point is just a name, because now she's morphing back into, well, they cheated, that. But this is the same promo that everybody has done for Top Tier for a year. Why can't you change it? I could care less about any feud that Top Tier is in. I'm tired of this team. I'm not even going to say the team. I'm tired of these belts. I'm sick of these belts. Boy, I honestly, if I had the chance to do it, I'd take all three of them things and run over them with a truck. They're the most worthless titles in wrestling today. Now, I don't just mean WoW, I mean wrestling. Those belts are the most worthless titles in wrestling. And it's the same thing with every babyface. Oh, they can't win unless they cheat. And we'll have something for them next time. Well, you had something for them the last time. What have they done to you, Fury? She's a better promo than that, and I know she's a better promo than that. What have they done to you? This is what this has been reduced to. Just, well, they can't win unless they cheat. How many different versions of that have we heard? Heard it from the Dojo Defenders. Heard it from Xena Phoenix. We're hearing it from Daisy Lane. We heard it from Fury. How many more times do you have to hear this nonsense? And it's not going anywhere. You had for as bad as I can say the angle was, at least there was some elevation in the type of match that they had. Hey, it's going to be a no DQ match, and I'm talking about Miami Sweet Heat and Swag and Pink. It's a no holds barred match. It's a lumberjack match. This is still okay. Top Tier has done the same match over and over and over and over and over again with maybe the varying standard tag team and singles match. We can lose those. Can't lose anything else. We can lose those. It just makes it so uninteresting. I mean, maybe if they had, and there's no consequences, there's no stakes to this. Maybe if Daisy Lane had some gravitas in the promo or something important to say, or this is what we're going to do, or we're going to get even one way to something. But it's just more of the same crap. There's literally no consequence to anything that has ever happened with them. Top Tier tears up their doll and is right back to normal the next week. They lose a match in a singles thing, but they win it right, or they successfully skate by or win or whatever in the trios match. And it's always been that. I have complained about them that they're not helping anything. They haven't even gotten to the point where they help elevate a single person. And this is not any different. And I don't know what Scoles is doing, you know, in this particular case. She didn't really add anything to this segment. She's a lovely woman, but, I mean, okay. There was no narrative pushed here. There was no, hey, what do you guys plan on doing? I mean, it was just, look, I get it. If she is there and they're willing to cut her a paycheck just to show up there and hold the microphone multiple times in the course of a day, because I'm pretty sure she had to do it multiple times in the course of a day, then why not? It's free money for her. Probably could just drive over, do this, all right, where's my check, and leave. So I ain't blaming her. But this segment was nothing. I wanted it to be something because I like some of the parties involved, Fury specifically, but like I said, they've kind of dwindled. She's another one. They just dwindled her down to, here's what you do. Say that you've got something special for them next time. Well, you know, they always have. Every babyface has had something special from top tier that never does anything. So there we are. After we get past that, the next segment is a promo for top tier, taking on new wild girl Destiny Diesel. Oh boy. So we already know, just based on that alone, that Destiny Diesel is destined to lose. There ain't no way that she's winning that. They also presented that like, okay, well, you know, it'll be a big deal to see who her partners are. I'm pretty sure that is not going to be. Because it's not like we're going to have some sort of surprise wrestler show up out of nowhere and, oh my God, it's Mickie James. She decided to go after the tree. That ain't happening. It's going to be somebody from WoW's pantheon of WoW girls that's going to get in there, provide extra bodies so they can round it out and then take the fall and move on. That's what's going to happen. That is my prediction. And for those of you who don't want to wait, now I'm going to give you a second. Now, I shouldn't even say that because I'm going to put chapter markers in here. So if you don't want to hear who it is that Destiny Diesel is going to be paired off with, use this time to forward to the next chapter. If you're still here, her tag team partners are going to be Tracy Taylor, a.k.a. Kalaki the Island Girl, and Sandy Shore. So if that helps you discover who's going to win and who ain't, that should give you all the reasoning that you need to know that Destiny Diesel will not be on the winning team that particular week. They're losing. And I'm not saying that because I looked at any of the pictures. I just know I saw who's going to be there. And like, yeah, they're losing. Next segment. We got a promo for the main event triple threat. This wasn't bad, but it bothers me as an editor. Why does it bother me as an editor? Because the promo for the main event went Tormenta, Santana Garrett, Penelope Pink. Far be it from me to be defending the Classmaster, but isn't she in the match? Why did this air and that not be put in right? Why did somebody allow that to slide? Again, it's one of those things that, is it going to affect the show? Is it going to make the quality go down? No, it's not going to do that. But she is in the match. Include her in the promo, in the clip. Why was Tormenta there? in that particular clip, I should say. Why was she in it? She's not in the triple threat. She is the goal of the triple threat. And the winner will take on Tormenta. What are they showing her in this thing for? She's not involved in it. But that's WoW. they decided that was enough, apparently. I'm sorry about, you hearing the papers. The next segment past that was a camera that was conveniently set up in the upper decks of the parking lot that saw a vehicle with the lights glaring at the lens. But with McClane's supervision, he determined that was an Escalade before it was possible to know that for normal people like me, that it was an Escalade. Like, who is that in the Escalade outside? I was like, I'm not sure how he knew what that was. Like, when I'm looking at a large vehicle with headlights pointed at me, I can't see what this thing is. And I definitely couldn't see what it was on camera. But of course, David McClane, even though he's the matchmaker and the person that signs the checks and signs all the people to the roster and introduces them and knows all the backstage and whatnot, he had no clue who this person was. Because when it's convenient for him to be so, he's just a commentator. I hate that he does this. I really do. So we get that, and then, again, we got a convenient camera set up in front of the Escalade with lights glaring into it, and then we got another camera where the door opens up and we see the Boots get out and walk off. Next segment. The Alliance comes out to the ring with their new leader. McClane claims he doesn't know who it is. Again, when it's convenient, he's just a commentator guy. I have no idea who this is, Nigel. Well, I guess she doesn't get a paycheck off of WoW. She's just there. But we discovered that is Arianna Gambino, the little sister of Arianna Gambino, who is no longer there. And last I heard, at least on NWA's television, NWA's, we'll call it television. What is her other name? Mafioso Valentino. I think that's it. They listed her as being gone to Japan. Now, I don't know how true that is or was, but she was the NWA, or was one half of the NWA Women's Tag Team Champions. But by her leaving, those titles have been vacated. So, where she is and what she's doing, who knows? But in WoW universe, her little sister has taken control of the Alliance. And she promos and introduces herself, and that she's going to fix the Alliance. Here's the positive. I'm glad that they explained it. This is exactly the stuff that I had been preaching about with them for quite some time. It needs to come out of the mouth of the wrestler. It needs to come out of their mouth. They need to be the ones to explain what this is, what they're doing, why they're doing it. They need to explain that. Opposed to Dave McClane doing it all. Or Nigel. Or both. So, it was a welcome, and I stress it was a welcome change, that she got the chance, or somebody got a chance to get out there and say, hey, this is who I am, this is why I'm here. And that was good. Once it went further than that, that's when I was like, oh, okay. Hold on a second. I'm talking about throat to, well, I'm wanting to cough, so I have to keep that drink around. Okay. It sounded good. She had a lot of fire to her delivery. Some of it didn't, in context, didn't make sense. Like, there's a point in the promo where it comes off like she's suggesting that there's a rat in her group. It's like, we had a rat in our inner circle. And, we need to take care of that. And, I brought in the exterminators, pest control, or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. And so they bring in Sylvia Sanchez to add one more loser to the loser squad. So, McLean and Zayn try to sell the alliance as a major threat now. I'm sorry, I'll believe that when I see it. That's the first thing. Secondly, the same rules apply. That's what I said before. The alliance, by the nature of WoW, cannot succeed. As long as there's a top tier and there's a Fab Four there, the alliance can't succeed. They're not going to let them. The Fab Four have occupied the WoW Championship and WoW Tag Team Championship since WoW came back 4 seasons ago. Top tier got shoehorned into having their own little universe. And the alliance is just a hodgepodge. They got talented people in it. And I really think that if you took them out of that environment, they could thrive. But none of this is going to make a difference, in my opinion. Like I said, I will believe it when I see it. Because it doesn't matter who the alliance has in front of them. If David McLean and Selena Majors are still in charge of this place, very likely the same dumb stuff that happened before is going to happen now. First match, it will not surprise me. And I haven't seen anything. I'm just making a guess. The first match that they have showed up anywhere. It would not surprise me if Arianna Gambino has to immediately walk over there and sit down next to David and hold a full-on conversation while her team wrestles. And maybe they'll win 1 or 2 matches and then they'll just drift back off into doing what they were doing. That's what I believe is going to happen. Damn. Sorry. Anyway, now what should have happened, considering what they walked out of, Arianna Gambino should have been the first one up and on a microphone saying, why isn't Reina Del Rey number 1 contender? Why doesn't she get the title shot? She did what no one else has done. She took a WoW champion and in their very first match stuck her on the shelf. I don't care who has the belt. This is your champion right here. That should have been it's an easy story. I know that they're not one to exploit what happened. I get it. But I'm sorry, it's pro wrestling, and that sometimes those things happen. For the last couple of weeks, she should have been running around there proclaiming herself the actual champion of WoW. That's what should have happened. But since WoW was so strung on, this is our angle and this is our story and we can't change it, this is what you get. And it's not like they even brought it up. There wasn't a hint at it. You got this new manager, brand new, and skipped right around that. Why? Because, of course, in their universe, it's not important. It's important that we get this other person who, I guess, in their universe would be considered a high signee. And I love Sylvia Sanchez, but the fact of the matter is, much like the rest of the Brat Pack, she's not been presented strong. She's been presented like someone who just loses on a week-to-week basis, regardless of who manages her, who is she tagged with. She'll skate out a win here and there, but it's just like the rest of them. The Brat Pack will lose, Del Rey will lose. So why on earth are we bothering with this? I want to believe that Gambino would make a difference. I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, I will also add this. If I were pitching for it, it's like, let's not even bring in a Gambino. Let's not bother with that. It's not important that you have to have a family member take over this thing. All they need is a mouthpiece. And they really don't even need that. The three of them are more than capable of talking for themselves. But if you're insistent on having a mouthpiece, take Varun, put her in some regular clothes and get out of the roller derby shit. Take Varun because she can talk and let her be the mouthpiece for this thing. Wrestling occasionally where they can help her out. But if she's going to be there, she can at least be the mouthpiece for a Del Rey and a Brat Pack. And let her be there at ringside. Not go over there, sit down next to Dave McClain. Which that's going to be I dread the day when I see that because I know it's happening. I know it's going to happen. I know it's coming. But I dread that day. But the Alliance is just a lost ship. Swimming out in the ocean of, well, the ocean. I was going to say the ocean of WoW, but maybe the lake of WoW. Outside of the random match here and there, I just do not see any future for them. Beyond, hey, we won this match. Like that, there's no trajectory, no path. I can't see anything that they got in front of them that's worth anything. Even if they were going into a heel versus heel thing against Top Tier, I just do not see them getting anywhere. Because Fab 4 has to be somebody's favorites. Top Tier has to be somebody's favorites. And that's where it's going to start, and that's where it's going to stop. Anyhow, moving on. Next segment, Penelope Pink with the Fab Four. She cuts promo, also behind the LED monitors. Pink always cuts a good promo. Sounds good. She does her thing. But Lindsay sounds like when she just had to get her last little charge in there before the cameras cut. My goodness, she sounded like she just came off of the Vegas Strip and was 2 seconds away from having a red solo cup in her hand and drunk as a skunk or country as a mud fence, but she just, yeah, we're the 5 times champion, baby. I was like, oh, all right, boy. I was like, put whatever you had, give me some of it. I mean, I like the twins, but yeah, she sounded excited. And I mean like sorority girl, spring break excited. The next segment, the promo for the Dojo Defenders versus Miami Sweet Heat, which was ridiculous. Again, it didn't bother me as a wrestling fan. It bothered me as an editor. All you got out of this promo was like the back of, I guess it would have been Terror Strike. We don't know because you never saw their face. You saw the Dojo Defender robe. I can't remember what you call it. Was it a kimono? But you got the logo on the back of them. But then they cut to Miami Sweet Heat and you get Lindsay on that screen like 3 different times. It'll be the Dojo Defenders facing off against the WoW 5-time tag team champions, Miami Sweet Heat. That's what they might as well have did. Well, like I wrote down, I wonder who's going to win this. I seriously, go and find that segment. It is like, we'll show the back of this person. Not going to show either of the members of the team. We'll show the back of them. And then we'll show Lindsay. And then cut to Lindsay. And then cut to Lindsay again. And then we're going to cut to the team of Miami Sweet Heat. And there you go. That's selling it. Oh, boy. That was fascinating to me. Then we get to the main event. The next segment, the final segment, this is the triple threat match. Classmaster with Lana Star versus Penelope Pink. Well, why did I write Lana Star? I didn't mean that. I actually did write this down on my paper. The Classmaster with Samantha Smart with taking on Penelope Pink with Lana Star versus Santana Garrett. That's what I meant to say. And I meant to write it that way too, but apparently I didn't. Katie Marie introduces this match differently, as she did the last one, surprisingly. I'm taking credit for that, by the way. I know I've said that you do not need to go and hold the microphone up every time you say one fall or whatever. And I didn't get either one of those in either one of these matches. Shock. I hope it continues. So Classmaster with Smart comes out first. Lana comes out with Penelope Pink, and she's wearing a cap and gown, which did pop me. I wrote down, yes, it's absurd that she just happened to have it, but it was initially funny. I have to give him that. McLean at some point in this says that Lana wants all the titles. Again, no mention of the Trios Championship, so I'm forced to believe what I said all this time is true, that those titles mean nothing. McLean is also selling the idea that Santana is trying to win the title for her dad. Okay, so let's stop right there. This has been the ongoing story that they've applied to Santana Garrett for some time now. And I am not going to sit here and be like, well, you don't do that, or, you know, it doesn't make sense, or whatever. My issue with it is this. If she has no hope of winning that championship, stop saying it. Because all it does is make her come off as unsuccessful. It makes her, or it puts her in a position where she is not succeeding at whatever task that she set in front of herself. And we've never heard her say that. At least not that I can recall. It's never been some big call to action of Santana Garrett to, like, you know, and I got one more chance to do this, and I got to win this for my father. It's always come out of the mouth of David McLean. And I don't know if he thinks that he's applying some sort of drama to her or something like that, but every time he does that and she fails, it doesn't do anything for her. If it's going to be her goal, it's going to be her task, this is the thing that she's trying to do, then yeah, apply that and get, you know, and have stakes involved. Doing this for, you know, my father, but, you know, that's been a couple of years now. He's riding this thing for way too long. And I'm sure that, you know, in reality, she probably would do it for her father, for his memory or what have you. But if it's not going to be applied to her on the show in some sort of meaningful storyline, then they need to stop. Because it ain't the first time that he said it, probably won't be the last. But he needs to stop. This is what I mean when I say, I all due respect to him, because I'm sure he's I assume a nice enough guy. I've heard different stories. Some people say the opposite of that. But I assume that he's, what do I say, okay fella, right? And it is not trying to do these things, but commentating is not his strong suit. I'm sorry to say that, but the more I listen to him, especially when the environment is this, where we're just going to tape a bunch of stuff in a row. So that's why I have very little sympathy for this situation, because this is the situation that you placed yourself in. So this idea that, well, I didn't know what else to talk about, come up with something else. This over-reliance of trying to manufacture emotion for some of these people is too much. And they don't need to keep doing that with her. She has already, as I've said, had drained credibility off of her. And at this point, most people probably forgot that she ever was in TNA or that she was in NXT. All they know her now is just the wild girl, and that ain't helping her out any. Santana Garrett was the NWA Women's Champion at one point. But again, how many people remember that? How many people know it? Because as long as she's there, it's not going to be brought up. It's not going to be featured. It's not going to be it's not going to be anything to try to add to her credentials. She's not going to have any sort of matches that's going to remind people of who she was or how she worked. She's just going to have the standard wild match, and she's going to do the standard wild promo, and nothing's going to bother her because we can't have any sort of real conflict between these people. And the only motivation that is going to be provided for us, the motivation that Dave McClain says on the microphone, she's doing this for her dad, Kenny G. They've got to get past that. They have got to get past that. Why is this still an angle for her? And if they are going to keep with that, then get her to the point where she's at least getting towards and competing for the title. Which you knew full well that she was not going to win this thing. She's the one babyface in there to go up against another babyface and torment her. No, that was never going to happen. So, no. And I like Santana Garrett. I do. But she needs somebody else that has a different creative vision for her. And if she just is happy, being in WoW and thinks that the creative is fine, then that's great. She can stay there forever. I'm pretty sure Dave McClain will love it. But if she has any aspirations of trying to get one last big match or run or whatever the case may be, something like that, then she needs to get out of WoW while she still has years left. And I'm sidebarred right now, but I got to rant for a little bit. This is the same set of decisions that I've said that WoW talent has to come face to face with at some point. And I'm talking about the ones who have an existing wrestling career. Not the ones that have been wrestling for 20 plus years and all that. Or, maybe if those people feel like they still got some mileage left on them. But the point being here is, if they have any aspirations of being anywhere else, because I know some have just settled into, hey, I'm good. I'm happy doing the independence that's around me. I like working for this company, and WoW just is something to fill the time here and there. And for those people, it's fine. But if you're trying to do something beyond that, there needs to be a different choice made. Because it's going to come to a point where the decision has got to be, am I going to keep giving WoW years of my career, or am I going to take the chance and go somewhere else and try to see if I can make that shot? Oh man, I hear a lot of squeaky going up there. Damn you, microphone. But anyhow, sorry, that distracted me. But yeah, they do have to come to a point where they've got to establish to themselves whether or not this is worth it. Whether I need to give myself the time of being on this show for good. Because if not, then, where are we going to go with this? What are they going to do? Are they just going to sit with WoW and stay with them forever until WoW goes off of the air? Because some of these people have not made any particular advancements, and there already have been examples of talent that have been on that show, given the best years of their careers there, and really not had all that much to show for it in terms of growth. Disciplinarian version 2, Ivory Reed. She was in my opinion, she was a top prospect coming out of reality wrestling initially when she did. And I'm sure it was great to sign on with WoW, to be on national television. But she gave the best years of her career to that place, when she could have been elsewhere, or at least attempted to be elsewhere. Same thing applies to Fury. She's still there, but I can promise you, if you go back and you look at her run on the independents directly before she got to WoW, she was cooking at one point. When she was the high priestess, Harlow O'Hara, she was one of those people that was featured on the posters. And then she signed on with WoW. And for whatever reasons, it's like WoW became the priority in life. And she ain't the only one. I've seen people, some of them reneged on it. But I've seen a couple of people that made the post, and I'm not going to mention them by name, was like, I'm not wrestling for anybody else other than WoW. So any independent promoters out there, I'm sorry, I'm off the market. And some of them have slowly crept back into being independent, or I should say being booked by independents. But at one point in time, I don't know how he did it, but it's like he convinced them, hey, you don't need to do anything else other than be here. But the fair assessment here to say is that good, bad, or indifferent, and it applies to most wrestling places, but I say specifically with WoW because they are on TV and they generally do leave their time for WoW and WoW alone, or at least the ones that I've talked to. They left it for WoW and WoW alone, and they wouldn't do anything else. They wouldn't go anywhere else. They wouldn't take any other bookings. They gave the best years of their career towards WoW. Now, that's not going to apply to somebody that answered it off of Backstage. That's not going to apply to Animal Instinct. They probably do not give a shit about taking a booking outside of WoW. That's not going to apply to a Destiny Diesel or probably a Candy Crush or Coach Campanelli or, anybody else whose career just started and stopped at WoW. That's not going to mean anything to them. But for the ones that had aspirations to be wrestlers, I want to be at, Bound for Glory or All In or WrestleMania or I want to be at one of these high-end indie shows like at Game Changer Wrestling where we got 1,000 screaming fans and this, that. For those that are out there like that, they're the ones that have to make that decision at some point. Is this my landing spot? I asked that question as a poll probably 8 or 9 months ago. And the people that answered it was like, oh yeah, WoW's a great place for doing it. I disagree. Now, that's their opinion, and that's why I had the poll, and I accept that, and I appreciate their opinion about it. But WoW just does not seem to be the end-all, be-all for some of their careers. Because who we seen start moving and motivating out of there. Some people had to take the chance, like, Ray Lynn. We read that post a couple of weeks ago, where she felt like there was promises made that weren't kept. Holly Swag, who we've seen all over the place. And she has a fan base out there that's, wanting to see her succeed. She's been on NWA television. She's been on reality wrestling television. Power Slap, that's a whole different thing. She's returned back to OVW. She's been around. And various other independents in between. The Twins, they have decided to go put themselves out in the indie market, which I don't think they've done that in like 3 years. Pink gets out there. Del Rey gets out there. Ozzy. But the question is, how feasible is it for you to continue to do it while WoW is the priority? And bringing it back around so we can go back to the main event, back to Santana Garrett. She is one of those persons that I really feel like that is the internal conversation that she may need to have. Is this where I need/want to be? Do I want to just give my time, my career, my name to WoW, and that's where it starts and stops? Because at this point, WoW is going to encompass the bulk of her career. Or does she want to take another shot? Does she want to go and see whether Santana Garrett can still cut it out there, which I'm sure she could. I honestly and truly believe that she just needs a different creative outlet. WoW is not the place for her. They do not know what to do with her. It doesn't feel like it. It just feels like they just needed a baby face that they could stick in there who's designed to have some name value of some minor description that they can lose and beat them when necessary. And then do it all over again when they have another heel that needs to win. So anyhow, I ranted on about that, and I think we've gotten rid of the overhead water that was running through the pipes above me. So we get into this match. Damn, that was a long rant, wasn't it? Well, we get into this match, and it begins with the Classmaster kind of playing the role as the giant of the match, which is good. Moves at a moderate pace. I thought this was great for the fans out there because I'm sure not all of them were true blue wrestling fans and probably had no idea what WoW was, and they just were there to see a show. And when you have that moving at a pace the way that they had it, at least allowed for them to understand what was going on and who was doing what. So I got that, and I was good with that. You had the family and friends section chanting for Santana Garrett because I'm relatively sure that had to be families and friends that was out there doing it. Moving ahead, they have some good spots here and nice back and forth. You know, 2 heels, 1 babyface. So I like the dynamics of that. Even though it didn't feel like necessarily she was fighting uphill against them the entire way, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, we got a point where Pink and Garrett had to work together to drop the Classmaster, which was good. And I will also add, this is probably one of my better viewed matches of the Classmaster. If not for that stupid schoolgirl dress, she looked like she was a threat. So I appreciated that. Moving ahead, we got to a point where Samantha Smart tried to use the book on Santana Garrett, but Garrett got away. Of course, this was kind of a silly spot because she got out of the way and then she almost hit the Classmaster, and these two like holding this book up against each other for, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds. Like, why are you struggling with this book between the two of you? Do you not realize that this is your own person? Just let it go. But they didn't do that, so I was like, all right, well, fine. There was a point where you got some managerial involvement where Star and Smart kind of had words with each other. This is after Lana Star chokes out the Classmaster a little bit with her gown, with the robe that she wore out there in mockery of the Classmaster. Smart goes over there to have words with her, and then Star takes it off and just throws it in Samantha Smart's face. Like, great. There was also a nice distraction spot earlier than that where Pink goes out and has some words with Samantha Smart and gets up in her face and whatnot, and then she turns around to a nice pop in the mouth from the Classmaster. Again, I didn't have any problem with the Classmaster here, surprisingly enough. I thought she did well for what she was doing. And it's probably a good use of her when she's a threat for the title, but not necessarily the title holder, if that makes sense. So we got down towards the end, and we get, sorry, papers getting shuffled about. Yes, I can hear that in my headphones, that the microphone's picking all that up. We get down towards the end. This is after the book spot where, like I said, for whatever reason, Samantha Smart and the Classmaster are fighting over this book because I just don't recognize that this person holding this book is my friend. Garrett lays out the Classmaster with a super kick. She attempts her handstand moonsault, which of course gets cuts off. Pink cuts it off. They yank out the wrist of Garrett like You knew it was going to happen. This allows Lana to hit Garrett with the mirror, which I've never liked. That is the one thing in Lana's arsenal that I do not like. I've never liked it. For 20-something years, she's tried to use that mirror as a destructive weapon. And I've always hated it because, like, why would this thing knock anybody out? I get, if she was doing it because she was going to do a blade job and come up bleeding, because that's what should happen if you get smacked in the head with a mirror, with glass. So if Santana Garrett turned around and she was bleeding out of the forehead, then I was like, oh, that would make sense to her. If she was writhing around in pain on the ground because she got hit in the head with this thing, that would make a lot more sense. But here in their universe, it's like the mirror's a knockout blow, and it's such a tiny thing. Like, no element of that makes me believe that this would be plausible. It's just, hey, look, bam, and then they go down. They're just done. So you get that, and then Pink goes in and she hits the Classmaster with the Nightmare in Pink, which is, what was that? Like their version of a V-trick. I can't remember what I wrote down the name of it, but I don't remember what it was. And then she got it. 1, 2, 3. That was it. See, and I don't say that like, it was a small deal that she won, but, she wins, and now we got Penelope Pink on the horizon against Tormenta. So for 2 years running, at the beginning of the year, Penelope Pink wins some sort of #1 contendership that she walks into a title. Well, no, I should say 3 years running. So she wins that. She walks into some sort of #1 contendership to get a title shot. When, where, and how this will take place, or whether they'll have another #1 contenders match to offset this #1 contenders match remains to be seen. But that was the show. What would this show be graded? Well, it would probably be like a high C, like a C+ for me. It had its down points, and I shouldn't even say down points. It had its points of things that I just did not agree with. But me not agreeing with it doesn't make it inherently bad. As you heard throughout this thing, and I pointed out piece by piece, this is why I don't like this particular thing or instance. But overall, I appreciated the effort of trying to have promos for the talent. I appreciated the effort of having the talent explain the situation. I appreciated the matches that they had by and large. What I didn't like is that, them trying to string together whatever little pieces of story that they might have had. I didn't like the promo that Monsters and Metal cut, because it's the same promo that everybody else cut against Top Tier. What I didn't necessarily care for Santana Garrett's use within this thing, and I certainly didn't care for the whole, well, it makes sense that you get a shot for the title, so all of y'all get a shot at being #1 contender. That just was absurd. So we narrowed that down. C+, just underneath, if they had something just a little stronger, it would be a B. It would be above average. But right now, I would say it's an average show. Just a hair above average for them. So there we have it. Good on the Wild. Congratulations, guys. They started off okay. Will they maintain that? Will it continue on? I doubt it, but we will see. Now, having done that and gotten through the review of WoW, I think I got myself all worked up. But had to go through this drink, trying to stay, not irritate my throat, yelling into the microphone and everything. And that was a show that I liked. What's it gonna be like when I get to one that I don't? Oh my goodness. But we haven't seen a press release off of WoW, but their press site has one. So, as we tend to do, why don't we take a look at what we can expect off of WoW and what they're going to present to us next, right? So, for those of you that clicked ahead when I said they're going to have a mystery partners, or at least they didn't advertise the partners for the debuting Destiny Diesel. If this press release has their name in it, just bear in mind that I had no idea because this is the first time I'm reading it. All right. So the next episode of WoW is going to be titled The Freight Train. Oh my God. They're going to name this thing after her too. Oh boy, I'm already not liking it. Anyhow, The Freight Train arrives. That's going to be season 4. That's going to be episode 414. And for me, that'll probably be 170. Let me take one quick swig here so I can get through this. All right, folks, here we go. Wow, Women of Wrestling Nights, Las Vegas, with multiple superhero debuts and double championship action. The Alliance backs up their bold words from last week as the Gambino family powerhouse faction steps into the purple ring against the energetic trios team of the Mighty Mites, Sugar and Spice, and the Bully Buster Keita Rush. The Dojo defenders Kara Kai and Tara Strike get the most coveted opportunity, a Wild World Tag Team Championship match against 5-time champions Miami's Sweet Heat, Lovely Lori, and Luscious Lindsay Carlson, accompanied by the fabulous Lana Starr. The Freight Train arrives as a high-energy newcomer Destiny Diesel debuts and joins forces with veteran Kalaki, the Island Girl, and Spring Breaker Sandy Shore to challenge the dominant Wild World Trios champions Coach Campanelli, Candy Crush, and Gloria Glitter of Top Tier. All right, so there you have it. So I apologize if you skipped ahead for nothing because they just told you that part was going to be. All right, so yes, Sandy Shore and Kalaki the Island Girl, that's their part. That's her partner. So 2 people who couldn't buy a win if never mind. You can get all the old adages you could think of. Couldn't beat their way out of a paper bag or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that means that it is a loss waiting in the wings for Destiny Diesel. So why they decide to try to make it sound like she's some sort of big deal showing up at WoW, I'll never know. And I'm sure somebody on Reddit right now, I think they had brought up what some of these young ladies were doing before they got to WoW. I think she might have been another model or something. So I'm not expecting a whole lot other than the costume and her coming out and smiling and maybe 1 or 2 words, and I'm happy to be here. Other than that, I'm not expecting much. So that's it, folks. We have covered the entirety of it. Welcome to the new year, 2026. And we got a bunch of more of these to go. Woo. We will see. Please do all of the nice YouTube things for me as you've been doing. I appreciate it. The like, share, and subscribes if you're listening to this on YouTube. If you're not, you happen to be on some sort of podcast platform that exists out there in the world, and we are available on greater podcast platforms everywhere. A review or rankings would be nice, or ratings, I should say. And if you don't know where to find all of these things, you just happen to come across this by happenstance and you don't know where to go to WPNWrestling.com. That is the centerpiece and focal point of everything that the WPN does and or produces. They got a video stream that runs there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. See, I was doing it first. And it's got videos that date back to 2013. Featuring faces and names and stars of people that have gone on to locations such as MLW, TNA, AEW, the WWE, and yes, WoW as well. So you have all of those things going on. You can check those matches out. You can check out every podcast there as well. All of them drop on our website. Just scroll down a little bit, you can see the podcast widget, and if you scroll through the widget, you can see exactly how many of these podcasts we've really cranked out. And I tell you, it has been a bunch of them. I didn't even realize how many of these things I had done. And I mean, even me trying to go through it is like, whew, that's a lot. So there's all of that stuff, all that, and probably a little more coming as the weeks roll through. But we will take this journey through cartoon land together as we watch another week's worth of WoW with this upcoming episode. Let's see how this one turns out and whether they can continue to raise the bar. Fingers are crossed. And on that note, this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, folks, and we will see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.